Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
I'll just quickly summarize what we have seen far. We started with an email studio and we have completed the subscriber management. We have in the subscriber management, we have spoke about data extension list. We have also spoke about a list group of island preference management and almost the majority of the functionality. We have spoke about it. There are a few topics which is missed and we will be covering in the upcoming session. We also looked into our content management system in the previous session, where we have also worked on an AMS script. We worked on a very basic AMS script condition, like if conditions, and then if we would like to bring the data from our data extension to email template, and how do we bring the data using this into personalization. And we have also looked into a couple of other content logs. That's all something that we have covered far in the content management in the content window. I'll just quickly open the folder. This is the email which I have created. Completely placed. This is the one I have created. I have the personalization strings here. In case, if you would like to bring the value from a data extension directly, we can use this personalization, or we can write a condition in the header of an email, and then we print those variables directly in any way in the email template. That's what we have exactly have done it also. The AMS script condition which I have written here is just goes simply as checking if the first name is empty or not from the data extension. If it's empty, then we are setting the variable called first name is equal to hello here. If it's not empty, then we are setting the same value of a first name from a data extension to this variable. And then we are closing this condition. And based on this condition, if I print this variable in my email template, based on the conditions, these two of these values will be printed. If it has the empty value, it will be showing hello there. If it doesn't have the empty value, it shows the value of the first name. That's how it works here with the condition. In today's session, we will proceed further with advanced content, and we will check what all type of execution that we have in Email Studio, and we will also check the testing and tracking. By today, we should be able to complete all the content blocks and also the type of sending of the email from Email Studio. From tomorrow, we will be able to start with a new studio. We already spoke about advanced content here. In this advanced content, send videos for practice. We coming back to the advanced content blocks. We have an external content, which is something that we have already seen. Suppose if you have the content published somewhere in the website and if you'd like to bring them into your email template, and we can use it. The simple example, what we have seen in the previous session is we have used Google. I can just drag and drop external content, and I can give the URL of a particular page. It will pull the content from the URL that we defined here. This is something that we have already seen. And we have a dynamic content block. Dynamic content block and enhanced dynamic content block almost works in the same way. These two. Often we use it for personalization, but unfortunately, this is something that we won't be able to see in the real-time use case. Enhanced dynamic content block. How this exactly works is we have to click on a CSV file. In that CSV file, each and every component of an email example, subject, line pre-header. Here I have the AMPS script condition, and I need to put the source code, into a separate link. Here, if I go to an image, there is a source code here. Even the source code, I need to put that in the CSV file. Then it goes for each and every content. Text, HTML, source code and everything. I have to put it in the CSV file, and then I have to upload it into the email template. When I upload my entire email, template will be automatically created, and we will be able to do a personalization based on the different content blocks that we have, different columns that we have in the CSV file. Due to time constraints, we won't be able to see the use case for our more advanced dynamic content, and this is how these kind of templates are being now used only by the commerce-based company. And even due to the complexity of this content block, the majority of the organization is not using this content block. But I'll definitely share some article. Support is how we can create the CSV file and how much time that we need to have to prepare this CSV file. And we have a dynamic content, which is something we quite frequently use it for basic personalization. Suppose if you'd like to do a personalization based on gender, based on location, we will be able to do those personalization using dynamic content block. Let me add this dynamic content block. I'll add the dynamic content block here. Here we have a default content, and we can create a maximum of the tools. Let me start with the creating a fast rule. Here we are going to be using the data extension for sending the email. I'll pick up the data extension here. We have to pick up the data extension which we are going to use for sending the communication out. Interesting customers. All this is the data extension name. I have all of these fields. Whenever you have to execute a campaign, there will be a campaign sheet which the management will share with you. The campaign sheet will have what is the email name? What time we have to send the email? Is it an ad on content or is it like a continuous campaign? What needs to be the campaign name? What should be the personalization? Each and every detail we will have in the campaign sheet. By looking at the campaign sheet, we will be able to understand how complex it is. And what is the segmentation that we have to do with? And all of that. I'll also share this campaign sheet with you all when we complete this email studio in case. If you like to practice it by looking at the campaign sheet, you can definitely operate. This is how majority of the organization have the campaign sheet. And then we'll do a kind of a brainstorm session before we execute a campaign. And then we start preparing the entire content and all the other. Now let's say that we have to do a personalization based on country. And we can use any of the things that we have in a data extension like data port. Suppose if you let do a personalization, suppose like above 18 years, if you'd like to do a kind of a content personalization based on the data port, that is something that's possible. And gender, you can also do a personalization based on gender. It's absolutely based on the fees that we have. Here I have also a purchase value. If the purchase value is more than 500, you can give them a free coupon or something. And if it's less than 500, you can tell them you are like Firosti. If you purchase another $50 and then you are eligible to get another 100 voucher, 100 USG voucher, something like that. We can come up with a lot of personalization based on the fees that we have. But for now, I'll go with a fee called country. I am going to say country is equal to India. There are many operators that we have is equal to greater than less than exist. That's not exist. Being in sometimes empty, not empty. We have plenty of conditions here. For now, I'll go with if country is equal to India, then I will pick up a content here on top of it. Here we see the content. I'll just go something randomly here. I'm using the content which we have already uploaded in this asset in this instance. I'll just pick up this one for India. For fit, I have picked up the condition. I have picked up the image and I'll save this condition. For this first two, I'll say India. Now I'm going to create a second rule which I have here. Second rule, the data extension will be automatically picked up. Country is equal to Germany. Here I'll pick up the content. Something randomly. Perfect. Like a filter conditioner said, the image is also picked up. I'll create one more last condition and then we can preview how it really works for the end customer. Same country. This time I'll do for France. I'm going to use this image. Then the content images. No, it can be a good question. It can be anything. It can be also freeform. It can be an image. It can be a document community. But it should have already been created on that exact. I have created a total of 3 conditions. The reason why we use a transcript is because we have a limitation here. We can create a maximum of 18 rules here. Even if you would like to do a personalization for the country. In my situation, in my organization, we have about like 115 countries in total. I won't be able to definitely use this condition like a dynamic content block for the personalization. What we do is we use the AMS PRE because of the limitation that we have here. And once we come up with all the conditions here, we have to pick up the default content. Suppose if the condition is not met with any of the rules we have created, the default content block will start up. I'll just pick up again one more default content here. Perfect. I have picked up the default content. I have picked up the content for Rule 1, Rule 2 and Rule 3. Let's review this how it works. And before that, someone just pulled up really a good question. Can you see other content? Then we go to content blocks here, and I can create my own content block. Suppose you would like to do a personalization for France all, and you would like to come up with a content block which has to be influenced. Same way you are coming up with a personalization for Germany. And this content block needs to be in German language. And then you create this content block and save it in this folder. And when you pick up the assets in the rules condition that you have created instead of the image, you can pick up this default. That's how we pick up this content block into the dynamic content. I also have one more question. We created rules. In this example, you created all the rules where the condition was based on the country field. Is it possible to create rules on different fields and also have a relationship like have an or and combination of the rules? Yes, it's possible. We can add a multiple filter criteria. Let me show that here. It's the same as the filter condition that we have done it. When I click on edit here, I can add a multiple conditions. Suppose probably like if I have to say like gender is equal to male. And here I have the logic operators and I can control those logic operators here. And I can also add multiple filters here. We were talking about the free form. We just have to click on replace and instead of an image, we just have to pick up the free form which we have created. Now, if any of the customer is from India, they will be able to see the content block that we have created. Perfect. Now we all set. We have the default content. We have all of this condition that has been created. We have something called content block up to date. Make local copy of content block. This is not applicable when we use this image. I'll show you in real-time use case with a different content block. I'll just keep it as it is. I'll be covering this again. This will not be applicable for the image. Now let's quickly preview this and test it. This customer is from India. Now I see the image content for this customer differently. This customer is from India again. This is the next customer. This customer is also from India. This subscriber is from France. I see this content block which I have picked up for France. I'll go to the next subscriber. It's Germany. Now I see the different content. Now the subscriber is Spain. Now we see the default content here. This is how it works for us. This is for again Russia, and we don't have a condition created for Russia. We see the default content block here. If you would like to do a basic personalization, this dynamic content really works out there. Like the basic personalization that we spoke about. If you have all of them in the data extension that you would like to personalize. If you have them in the data extension, then it's very easy. We can go with this dynamic content block. It will be really time consuming. But then we have to do a personalization for more countries, like 14 plus 20 plus countries, and this doesn't really work out well. At the same time, it's super time consuming. I have to create a content block. Firstly, I have to upload all of the content blocks. And then I have to write the condition. I have to manually pick up the condition for each and every country. And then we will have to test it out. That's a really time consuming task when we compare it with the dynamic content to our script. Someone has a question. Here we are selecting the data extension. Always be a single data extension, not a multiple join extension. Am I correct? Yes, that's. We have to pick up the data extension which we are going to be using to send the email communication. It has to be the same data extension. In case if you need it from multiple data extension, like order and the product detail, all those things, we need to join it together and bring it into a single extension. Then we have to start sending the email. In that situation, in that use case, there are two solutions for it. One, we have to write a SQL. We have to write a SQL and then we have to combine two of the data and then put it in the separate data extension. This is one solution. We can achieve it. The second solution, we can write an AMS2 condition. We can look up. There is a function called lookup and we'll be able to bring the value from different data extension using an AMS. There are two solutions to it. We will see the two of this use case because it's really important. It's already like a part of the curriculum. We see also cover the equal and also the lookup condition in AMS. It's going to be like really useful. Thank you. In the dynamic content, suppose if you would like to use a 3-path. Save this. I'll create one print in flow. Perfect. I just created some dummy freeform here. What exactly happens with this freeform when I use as an up-to-date content block in my email company? Now I'll click on edit. Let's imagine that I'll remove all of these conditions. Here, if I pick up the default content, that's the content block that I have just created. Here's my test block up to date. What happens is, if I use this option called blocks up to date by, there are chances that some of your colleagues or some of the marketing cloud expert may do some changes to the content block that we have created. If someone changes the content block content, it will show the updated value here. It says this is testing. If I use this option called keep content blocks up to date, and if anyone make a changes to this content block, it will show the up to date information here. Up to date content here in the email template. Suppose if I just go make local copies of the content block, and then this will never change. It will always be the same. The real-time example, if I just keep it up to date, and I'll just quickly make some changes in the content block. Say if I make them small changes. It shows the content here. If I don't use the up-to-date content option instead of up-to-date option, if I use local copies, this will never change. At the time of the campaign when it goes live, whatever the local copies that I have, it will be taken after this and it will never change. That is a distance between using the up-to-date and local copies. And this is exactly the reference content block is also seen as up-to-date. Yes, someone has a question. Yes, Meta. The reference content block also works in the same way. What happens is reference content block brings the up-to-date information from the data extension. I'm using the revised reference content block here. This also works exactly the same as up-to-date content block. I have this option. Both of them work in the same way. If you would like to bring the real-time data from a free form, you can use this reference content block. Ancient content is not something which is enabled for this account. This is one of the new capabilities which has been added into Marketing Cloud. What does this capability do for us? Is we have to pay to Salesforce to get this license first. Second thing, what does this capability exactly do for us? Is we can create. When we enable this capability will be keep on creating a tagging for all the images that we have uploaded. Suppose let's say that I have 1000 images in my content builder. This capability will be keep on creating a tagging for all the images. Suppose I have uploaded some image call. Let me just open the main look good folder. Here we have a lot of content. This is one of the images that we have. For this particular image, let's say this is an image. This will be tagged as a site dynamic. And this image we have a logo. And then this image will be tagged as a logo. The capability, the Einstein capability will create the tagging for all the images that we have in the content builder. Whenever we have to do a personalization, next time I don't need to pick up the images manually. I just have to give the tagging name there. For example, I just have to say shoe or a Reebok or like any other brand if I have to do a personalization. This capability will go and see what all the tagging that we have for Reebok, and then it will pull all the images. And at the time of sending the email, it will automatically personalize. We don't need to do any personalization at all. And even for the tagging, we don't need to do anything. All we just have to do is we just have to go to the Setup tab. Here we will have an option to enable it. Once we enable the system, will take about 48 hours to create the tagging. And once it is completed, we'll be able to start using this Einstein capability in the template directory. This is a new capability which we have in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. It's been basically added. If someone changes in our code, do we get any notification on that? No, we don't get the notification, but there are some different processes that you can create it here. Examples, there is something called approvals. You can create the approvals like a team. Examples, you are email developer. Let's say you are an email developer and there will be approval. Whenever you create an email, then you won't be having an option to edit the email or you won't have an option to send the email unless it's approved from your manager. As soon as your email is created, you will have an option to send this email to your manager and approve. The manager will preview it. And then he or she will be able to talk to you unless none of them will be able to edit your report. And only if it's been approved for you, and then only you will be able to edit, and rest of them will not be able to edit this kind of a control that will be able to create under the tool. That's a really good question because it's very, very important, because that is also kind of like a kind of disadvantage that I would say, because Salesforce Marketing Cloud does not give you any restrictions on what data extension that I can see in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. If I give you an example, I have data to data extension and I have some very important confidential data in that data extension. And if you have access, you can also see this data. That is really a disadvantage that Salesforce has. It does not give any restrictions to what is the data that I can see in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. For content, it's finding content. We can easily manage that through the approvals. We'll be able to create a theme, and then once you manage your approved template, then that's when you can send it unless no one can make any changes to your email template that you have created. Perfect. Content is, but for data extension, it's really difficult. We cannot control these restrictions. Perfect. I guess we have pretty much covered everything in advanced content block as well. A/B testing. I'll come to this A/B testing in a while because we are going to be talking about this A/B testing in a while. Because I'll be covering A/B testing also in today's session. Perfect. Image carousel. This content block works only for iOS devices. This is not something that we can use it for the devices. This is the capability meant only for Apple devices. Suppose if you like to use a multiple images and then I'll remove this. Probably I'll remove this. You can pick up a maximum of, I believe, maximum of 5 images. It will be keep on automatically scrolling for Apple devices. And if this content block, if you use this content block and then you send the email to Windows or Linux devices, it will not show, it will not render properly. Even this, there's an article which we have from Salesforce. It will clearly say that this content block is going to be meant for Apple devices, not for other devices. We can pick up a multiple images and then we can keep on adding images here by clicking on Add Image. Add Image. Maximum of 5 images that we can add. This will be keep on scrolling for the Apple devices. We have automatic image scrolling. In case if you'd like to, this is same as what we have done it in the image. Once you pick up, you can fit this image to like the screen that we have and border with image padding and all of them, which is something we have already seen. In the block setting, same as if this image that we have created, this carousel image should be visible for mobile devices or not. We can control this here, and then block background border spacing is all something that we already know. As we discussed, there are some situations. Marketing Cloud's code are not aware that these content blocks only meant for the device, Apple devices, and they have sent out the email to all the customers. For the other devices, it will not scroll up. The automatic scrolling doesn't happen. Whatever the image that we have on top in the first image then just appear for them. They won't be able to just manually scroll or like. That's something not possible for Android or any other devices. And we have a social follow and social share. I'll remove this to work. This content block. Here I have a social follow. Suppose if you would like to remove this content block. I just added social follow here. And if I click on this content block, you can add a multiple social networks into your email template. Example, your organization may have a business page like any of the social media. It can be a LinkedIn or a Twitter. Suppose if you like to add any of them, you can just directly add them here and then give the URL of the Facebook business page here and maybe send out the email. If anyone clicks on this link, and they will be directly taken to the official Facebook page and they will be able to see the updates of the status updates that you have. And same goes for other channels. Here, there are some situations where I have come across people in my previous organization. We have some different social networks for Russia. I think they use some different social platform. They don't use any of them, Instagram and all of them. They don't use it. Even if it was for China. For China, they use very much WeChat and line messaging. In case if you'd like to add all of them, you can. We know this logo and we can upload them here into the system and then we can start using those. Here we have all of them. Suppose if it's not there, it's not visible here to upload a content. What we can do is we can create a map freeform, normal freeform, and then we can start adding all of these logos like into content block, and then we can start referring them into a content block. That is something that we can do it. That's what we have also done it. You can upload those icons into the content builder and refer them directly into a freeform, and then you can just create your own freeform and then start using this content block for Russia or Japan or any other countries if they have any special social networks for the country. That is also something possible here. And we have a social share. Suppose if you would like to share this particular email or the product information or service information on your Facebook. When you click on share on Facebook, this particular product information, about this complete email will be shared on your Facebook newsfeed. It doesn't directly control your account. If you have logged in, then it asks your permission. Can I share this product or service information on your wall? And if you have not logged in, you have to log in. And then you will have to share it on your wall. In case, if you want to share this information, you can use this content block. There are some organizations which by default they use the social follow, but social share is something. It's up to you. It depends on the campaign that you're coming up. If it's required, we can keep it all. We don't need this. We can remove this. Perfect. This custom content block, I'll come to it. I will talk about this in the upcoming session because this is something that we have to add it through the install packages. We will be covering that in the upcoming session. In case it's how do we add it, custom content block, and how do we do the custom post realizations like in the email template. We'll see that in the taken off of the session. I think we are pretty much done here on the content. Email creation. Now, as we did this, whenever we execute the campaign, the one thing that we have to make sure is that we have to define, and we also have to make sure that the target language is at 8. And then if you have a process to associate the campaign, then you can associate. There are different ways for tracking the campaign. Some organization will use the campaign name. They will associate the campaign name after time of sending or else, like some organization will keep the link. They will add the atom parameters in the link that we are using to your directory. By then, we will be able to easily track where this particular customers are coming from in the landing pages. It's completely up to you and based on the organization, how they would like to track each and every customer and their conversions from different channels. Perfect. That's all. In the email template, we have all of them. We have spoken with all of them. When I go to a content, I'll be able to see all the freeform images that I have in the content. If I just have to use them, I can track and drop them into the email complete directly. When I go to a content and here I have the layout. Suppose if I would like to add in like a 2 of these empty blocks into the template, I can just drag and drop them. Then it goes for this one to us to empty content blocks will be added if I can drop them. We have any. It's really useful. We don't need to really let go on the HTML part because there are default content blocks which is already created. We can just use one of them here. There are many here. And then finally the design. In this design tab, we will have the global styling here. Here we have the template. In this template, we have the content. Back on this in white colors. If you like to change them, we can play around it here. And then it goes for body. For body, like what needs to be the font. If I change the font and every font like in the body will be changing. It's a global design. What about the changes that I make here in the design tab? It will be reflecting for entire template. They may post for primary header and all of them. This is my primary header. If I would like to change the font. Perfect. It's a global design. Whatever that we change here will be reflecting in the template. We have a review. We can have it. One more thing that I forgot to mention is that whenever we create this email template, I usually send out this email to multiple domains. We know that each and every domain renders the email differently. What I usually do is I have my personal account created in all the domains. I have one dummy data extension which I have using a sendable data extension. Before I execute the campaign, I always send out to the test accounts and then I will check if it's properly rendering in all the devices and all the domains properly. I'll check in mobile. I'll check in tab. If it's the same email template, it's fine. That's something which might have been tested already. If you're creating a new template from scratch, it's better to really test it with all the devices and all the domains, and then we'll be able to execute this campaign to be in the system, because we may have the customers from different domains and we may not have how it renders for every customer. It's always better to test it out how it works for us, and then we'll be able to execute this campaign. And then here we have a plain text of an email. Here is the text version which will be going to the customer. We discussed about it. I think we discussed about this in the very first session, where when you enable this option at the time of sending, by default this option will be picked up, and you can enable or disable this option at the time of sending. When does the MyWe option is enabled, it will also send the text version. It will also send the text version that we have here. What the text version is really helpful, especially if some of your customer does not have updated smartphone or does not have a really good internet connection. They will at least see the content which we have in the text version, because it will load just super fast. They don't need to be that. They don't need to have a super fast internet connection to load the text. Those customers will see the text version, and then once the internet is back on, it has a good speed, then the HTML version of the email will start loading for them. Even this personalization, whatever that we have done there, everything works perfectly in the text also, because we have all the conditions automatically created here. We don't need to do anything here. All the condition, everything is taken care. And finally, the code view. Here we'll be able to see the entire code view for the email template that we have created. Here is the huge HTML template based on the email that we have created, all the conditions and everything. It goes here, just translated into our HTML code here. Suppose there are some cases which we have discussed. You may get the source code from a web developer. You just copy them and then put it here, and you should be able to create your own email template, and then we can test it out. Perfect. I guess we are pretty much done here on all the content blocks and templates. Before we proceed further to the next topic, any question? I believe far we are clear in reading the email templates. What I will do is I will check how we can execute this campaign. We have 7 cents. We can trigger an email directly from here. There are multiple ways of triggering an email from email. The first one is a gated thing. If you are triggering an email from here, as how we have initiated, this is a gated thing. We have one more type of thing, which is a user-initiated thing. And finally, we have one more concept called triggered thing. This is something we have to configure it in the trigger email. Everything is pretty much the same. Everything is pretty much the same, but we have to do a little bit of configuration in the different UI. Here in the gated thing, we do this configuration and then I initiate this thing. But these configurations are not stored. If I have to use it in configuration, it's not possible. But in the user-initiated thing, the advantage of user-initiated when you compare it with the gated things. Whatever the configuration I create here, it will be saved. Suppose if I have to trigger the same email after 1 week or 1 month, I can go back to the user initiated email and I can pick up the same configuration. I can trigger the email. Basically, the configurations are stored in user initiated, but not stored in the gated thing. This is a gated thing. If you are triggering an email directly from here, this is a gated thing. Now let's see what all options that we have to configure in the gated thing, which is going to be again pretty much same in the user initiated as well. Now we have a plenty of option to pick up your audience. Where does your audience that you have? Is it in the list or group? Is it in data extension? Is it in data filter? Is it in audience? This audience is something that we will create in the audience builder. We don't have a license for it, and this is also not part of the program, but I'll give you how this exactly works in the application. It's the same as how we create a data extension, but we connect with a live data source, and then we will be able to apply the filter on a real time. I'll come to this topic like people want. If you create any audience, you can pick up directly from here. For now, our case is going to be data extension. I pick up the data extension. Most of the time we use the data extension. I will pick up this data extension. This data extension is a sendable. I see the data extension because I made this data extension sendable. Some cases they may not make the direct extension and double may not reflect here. If it's not reflecting, please go to the direct extension and then make it as a sendable. Perfect. Now the data extension is selected. Now please also make sure that you do duplicate subscribers by email address. There are some cases where the user might have been uploaded by mistake multiple times. It can be a human error where when we upload the CSV file, they might have not done a proper cleanup. There may be multiple entries for the same customer. When you do, the duplicate system will send email to when you want customer. I forgot to show the publication. Now I have picked up my data extension which says interested customers. And if you look at this publication list, on the side it says all subscribers. Now what happens? If customers, the subscribers, unsubscribe, it will be reflecting their status, will be reflecting in all subscribers. The data will update in the all subscribers. If you don't want to unsubscribe them in a master level, that's when we pick up this publication list. Suppose if I pick up this permission, their status will change only to this publication list, but not in all subscribers. That means if I have to reach out to this customer from a different business life, we can still reach out. The real use case and example for it. Suppose now I'm in India. I use this for publication list. Let's say if I am using all subscribers of the publication list here, and now I'm in India and I get an email from one of the company and then I unsubscribe. After 6 months or after 2 months, I move to Germany. Then now I'm interested to buy this product. I go to the website and then I submit my details. I will not get any email because I have unsubscribed in the master level. That is the reason we use a publication list. When I use this commercial, now what happens is I am unsubscribed in India business. Only for this particular business to be done, and I'm subscribed in this publication list. Now what I will do, I'm going to Germany after 2 months and I show interest. Then my lead will go to a German business and then I will be able to get the communication from German business because my all subscribers status is active. That's how we can manage the subscribers status like differently when we have Enterprise 2.0 account. That's really useful. Now I'll go with this commercial publication list. I'll click on that. If a customer unsubscribe, they like that. Only in the commercial. Here we have an exclusion and suppression. You can pick up any of this list that you would like to exclude groups that are essentially audience of the sale audience. If you have any group that you would like to, if you have any customers that you have stored somewhere in any of this functionality, and then you can add them as exclusion. Here you have all the suppression. Just in case, if you have any suppression list, you can pick them up directly from here all. This is completely in our control. They may be like from automation which will running to import the set of customers into data extension whenever they unsubscribe. That data extension we need to pick up. They will be excluded at the time of sending. They will not receive the email communication if those customers exist in the sender to their extension. That's how the system works. It will check if the functionality exists in this data extension. If they exist, they will be excluded, or it will also check with the email address. Perfect. The next step. It is the final step. Here subject line. We have the subject line under these. In case, if you like to make the changes, we can make the changes here and we have a thumbnail. The thumbnail is really important. For when you would like to have a proper open rate for the emails that we are triggering. Can we change MS email? I'll come to this in a while. We have the from name here. This thumbnail is really important for open rate. It defines your open rate. Basically, we open the email by just looking at the thumbnail and from email. If I get an email from Amazon India, that's my thumbnail. I open it because I closely watch what Amazon is offering to me. I closely watch. This thumbnail and from email is really important and same time the subject. If it's relevant to me and open the email. If it's not relevant, I may not open the email. Whenever we trigger an email, we just have to make sure that the user proper thumbnail. How do we create this from names? There are many of them reflecting here. There are many. This is your thumbnail, Mayu, and we have an email ID here. That is your from email. How do we usually create it? When I just go to admin tab in the email template, I can create my own sender profile. We call this as a sender profile. I'll go to admin tab. Sometimes you may not have access to this admin tab if you are a campaign specialist. You have to click on it. There are plenty of them. They see here. That's what we are seeing here. In case, if you like to create your own sender profile, you give it a name here. It's going to be for internal use. I'll say blah 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 and you leave. That's not key description secure. You have to use the specified information. All. And here you give the thumbnail example. Amazon India and email is going to be. It needs to be a valid email address. It cannot be some any dummy email address like noreplay@amazon.com or something like that. It cannot be. The meat has to be a valid, because we will be able to start using the sender profile only if this is being verified. How do we verify? When I just click on it, email will be triggered with this address, and then they have to just click on the link that we will have in the email to verify this particular link. That's when we can start using the sender profile in this option in the firm options. It will start appearing here, and then we'll be able to use this. This thumbnail is very important. We just have to pick up usually how organization will keep it is. They may keep separate, send a profile for commercial things and faction. Based on the type of campaign, you can pick up your name, send a profile. Perfect. Here, I can just say like over it. It will be able to see all of them, which we have already created. This is how we pick up. For now, I'll just go with the default, and here we see send as a multi-part. Within this email, obviously, we would like to track. We don't want to suppress the send from reports, and if you enable this, you won't be able to track any of the links, any of the clicks, open and subscription. If we suppress it and enable send logging, this is a feature that needs to be enabled in Salesforce Markdown. To my understanding, this option is not enabled for this instance. What does options rate? That's for us. Firstly, how do we activate this send logging? We have to talk to the account executed from Salesforce. He or she will be able to enable this option for you. Basically, when this is enabled, it will have one data extension for us to do it. In that data extension, if you have all the stats, like all the analytics information, who has clicked, who has unsubscribed, who has opened your email, everything will be logged in the data extension if you would like to enable. If you would like to store all of this personal status in the data extension. We don't enable this option in most of the accounts because it will just consume a lot of space, because we may send like lakhs and lakhs of email in a form C. And whenever we send out all of this, customers will be stored in the direct function again, and then it will create a huge space for us because it's doing the huge information. That's the reason most of the organization does not use it, but it's really a good feature. If you don't have any storage on time on the cloud, you can definitely use it because we use this data for personalization. Example, if you have opened the email, we send out this content. Click the email, we send out the different content. You can also do this. Use the data extension for post and IP. Next option, CB. C, we have all of them. We really don't use the CCB, C and all. In the send, I enable the send lark into the data extension. Do we need a separate created data extension? We need to create a separate data extension, or if you enable it, system will automatically create and keep storing the day. Yes, it needs to be enabled for us. This feature needs to be enabled, and then we have to create a data extension. And then, once we create the data extension, Salesforce team will be able to start pushing the data to the particular data extension. How do we create? The data extension is when I click on create, when I go to standard, and then here I have to create from a template. And then here send log, we will have the same log. Here is the template. And you create this data extension and tell this Salesforce team. Please send all the logs to this data extension. When I create, there will be a key. You share this excellent key with the Salesforce support team, and they'll be able to start pushing the data. I need to be linked. Yes, it needs to be linked. And this link is something they will be doing it. All we have to do is create the state extension, but we have to carefully pick up the template, send log as a template, and then we just have to share the ability of the state extension, and they'll be able to do the link in the backend. Thank you. Perfect. TC and BC, see, we don't mostly use Mostly use it does not. We don't use it. I'll probably give you one use case for it. We have paid one business unit for HR department in my previous organization. We know that the HR department usually send out a lot of communication that can be for the fact how the company is doing and what is the new. Even that we have, and all of this information, HR will be keep on triggering emails that at that point of time when you trigger an email, we may use the CC and BCC. Apart from that, we never use the T and BTC for the transaction or commercial, and when we add a recipient CEO, that means it's going to be costing you super message. The super message is nothing, but when you include any recipients in two of this option, it's going to be considering as a super message. When message is going to be one to pay for you. It's normal if you're sending on SMS or your own email, if it's costing you one to be, if you include any recipients here, it's going to cost you two messages that we call it as a super message in the SFC. All the recipients that you include here will be considered as a super message. You'll be costing twice. You have to pay twice for single SMS. I think the email that you click on. Perfect. Here we have a testing option in case if you'd like to send this email to a test recipient, you can also include them. And then you can test it out, and then you will be able to initiate it. And then I think we are pretty much done. Finally, we have an immediate later. If you just go with this option and click on it, all of this email will just go away. Like within 1 minute, all of them will be delivered. There is no any limitation that even if you use like a 1 crore of data or 10 crore of data, and all of them will be processed within 1 to 5 minutes, and all of these emails will be delivered until it goes for later. And here we have an option called send tracking. This is an option that we have when you are sending a bulk emails. When I enable this option, you have a start time and then end time. Suppose if I say 9 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. all, what the same start link will be doing is, suppose if you have some huge customers to be a huge customer that you have to send out the email. The system will start sending the email from 9 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. all. After only this time frame, the email will go. Otherwise, the email with other times, the email will not go. And this is a central. Why do we really use the central thing is because I'll tell you the best use case. We all probably might have used DC. And you know that how I have to do the page loads because people will be coming to the landing page like for booking faculty. Just because a lot of traffic that comes to the landing page, we are not able to just open the website because there's a lot of traffic on the landing pages. If I don't use this central option and I'm sending the email to a bulk customers like a Pink Grove customers, there's a high chances that your landing page may go crash. It may probably not responding because there's a huge number of customers from your landing page at single point of time. That's the reason we use the tent routing. We send the customers in a different time. The landing page will not get affected. The AP calls will not begin affected. That's how we handle. That's how we handle the response to the landing page. We can use this option, or we can use also a time limit. You can disable this. And then you can also use a limit. This sends the email in a batch example. We have a file starting from 500. We have maximum file that if I use this file, that every 1 hour, maximum file that emails will be delivered. We keep on delivering file that email every 1 hour. This is also something that we can use it. When I use this option, I send the email to 10 cores of customers. It may probably take about maybe sometimes more than a day to complete the thing and take email grade. This is a tent routing. It's especially we use it when we're having a campaign to deliver to a huge audience. Perfect. When I just click on it next, it will just ask for the final confirmation. This is a summary. And then we just have to say this information is correct and then click on send. And then this will be triggered and we should be able to start. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.